Ladies and gentlemen, the show we've all been waiting for. Paranormal Buzz Radio is proud to present REP Paranormal and Friends with your hosts, Kim Purvis and Allison Robinson. Live every Thursday night on Spreaker, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. Be sure to check out their Facebook page, REP Paranormal Busters.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of Paranormal Buzz Radio or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is strictly prohibited. For information on everything Paranormal Buzz Radio has to offer, visit our website, paranormalbuzzradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Listener discretion is advised.
All right, welcome everybody tonight to REP Paranormal and Friends. We have a special guest, Jason from Heartland Paranormal. So, Jason, welcome tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like we have a few people in chat here so far too. We have Matt, Darren. Let's see, and there's Andrew, Shay. Oh, yeah, mine's a little delayed. I didn't see Shay yet. Sorry, Shay. All right, well, welcome everybody tonight. Hopefully you got some good questions for us. We're going to get some things started off. First, if you just want to kind of give us a little bit of background on yourself and how you got interested in the paranormal.
My name is Jason Faust. I'm with Heartland Paranormal, like you said. I'm the founder and lead investigator. But I've been interested in the paranormal all my life, and all different aspects of it. I always tell people that kind of Jaws, the movie Jaws, was what got me into it. I saw that when I was about 5 years old and was hooked on the horror genre from then on out. And, I read books, watched movies and stuff, and the older I got, the more I got into like true accounts and stuff like that. So I've been educating myself on paranormal, supernatural stuff. Mm-hmm. So I narrowed it down to mostly the ghost spirits, the ethereal type, metaphysical type genre of it. You know, I know that paranormal covers UFOs, Bigfoot, cryptozoology, all that stuff, but mostly I focus on the ghosts and spirits, stuff like that, the haunting type. But I've been active in the field for going on 5 years now. So
very nice. That's about how long we have been. I think. Yeah.
2014. So.
Yeah, 2014. Yeah.
So yeah, that's my basic background in it.
How many people do you have in your group?
Right now, really, it's just me. I have a couple different people that are actually in on my team, but not like regular on my team. Like I have a couple folks that are affiliated with Heartland Paranormal that come and do a thing here and there, but I do. I like to collaborate with other teams a lot, and so mostly it's just me.
Sometimes that's the best, but
yeah.
I still want to take somebody with me. You just never know. Not ghost-wise, but in case somebody ever got hurt or something, you have that second person.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I don't do investigations alone. Typically, I always have somebody that'll go along with me, and I actually all but one overnight investigation, which was last year on my birthday. Mm-hmm. Heartland has collaborated with another team on every investigation that we've done, and I pride myself on doing that because just simply on my end, it broadens my horizon so much. I learn how other teams do it. I learn little tips and tricks of the trade. But it's neat to just, like I said, broaden the horizons in how different tactics are used as far as on location, like field investigation goes.
Yeah, that's what me and Allison started doing. We've been going around with different teams. Like last week, we went with Moth, mm-hmm. and we've got Creeps wants us to go with them, and a couple other teams, and we just got to find time to do it with them. But yes. Yeah, you learn so much different ways of doing things, and kind of help you change your old tactics to a little bit newer stuff, and helps mm-hmm. you out a little bit more.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That's the thing about investigating. You learn every time you go out.
Right. There's always something different.
Yeah.
Always something different. Or, yeah, you can just pick up different ways and tactics to... Like, I learned some new things last week at Malvern.
Yeah.
So,
I got the poop scared out of me, but from one of them, not the ghost.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. I seen him coming, and I just turned the other way, and I'm like, looking at the opposite way. I'm like, oh, is somebody with us?
And then he grabs my ankles.
Was it Jamie?
No, it was John.
It was John.
Yeah.
I figured it had to be one or the other.
Yeah.
I think I could have put a hole in that roof.
Oh, that's funny.
We do have a question in chat here. Darren wants to know the most exciting haunted location you have been on.
You know, that's a funny question. Because like I get asked that, and what is your favorite location, and what is the most exciting, and I really don't judge them as far as the excitement. My favorite, I don't rank them, but I would say Malvern has to be on the top because I got my very first overnight there. We got some evidence that just really tripped me out, and it was my first experience with like physical interaction. And so that's got to be tied for my number one spot there, along with Villisca. Because when I was at Villisca, and it was actually my very first time at Villisca, doing a day walkthrough, I saw a few things that I went back through the house and could not explain why certain things were happening. But as far as the physical interaction at Malvern and what would be Inez's room, that was really trippy. And then I got an audio recording in the attic that, when I show people, still freaks people out. We had sat up in that attic, I don't know, probably about 30 minutes with nothing. We were in the pitch black. We had a recorder going. We're getting nothing. And finally we decided we were going to leave the attic, go roam around the manor. But we were going to leave the recorder up in the attic going for that, time we were roaming around. And it turned out we were gone just over 30 minutes. When we came back, the recorder said that it had recorded like 30 minutes and some odd seconds, I hit play on the thing, and it would not play past like 38 seconds.
Oh, wow.
And so that's trippy enough, but it was a recording that was on there that it was really trippy because when we leave a recorder in a room, we always timestamp it.
Right.
And we say, we're leaving this room at such and such a time and whatever. And then when we re-enter the room, we always timestamp again. And so me and my partner were leaving. We're walking down the stairs, and I said, we're leaving the attic now. We'll be back in a little bit. Mm-hmm. And you could hear our footsteps descending the stairs of that attic, and I'm a big guy, and so that staircase annoys the crap out of me.
Oh yeah,
oh definitely.
Because if I have my equipment on and stuff, I mean it's bad enough I have to walk that staircase sideways, but with the equipment it makes it even worse. So you could hear our footsteps going down, and on the recording you can hear the attic door click shut. And as soon as that attic door clicks shut, you can hear like hard sole shoes walk across the attic floor. Something interacted with the recorder. And it was actually just recently somebody was listening to it with earphones. It was like, well, there's a frustrated breath right at the end. And there is kind of a little, like right at the end of it, right before the recorder gets cut off. And
oh, wow.
It's just a trippy recording. And I've held on to that one for quite a while. Ever since I got it, it's been now, 2.5 years.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And it trips people out every time they listen to it.
Oh, dang.
I would hang on to that one, too. Every time I'm up in the attic, I never get nothing. There's nothing going on whenever I'm up there.
Yeah.
But when Allison and them went up there, they got all kinds of stuff, but when I get to go up, nothing.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Yeah, because we did get stuff that was giving us intelligent answers over their box. But
yeah, when I got to finally get to go up there, it was total dead silence. Nothing.
Yeah, we didn't really get a whole lot. We got some different readings, but that was about it. Yeah. That's interesting how people, you get different, everybody gets a different experience when they go places. I
believe that I subscribe to that theory that the energies will manifest itself in different ways and different forms to different people.
Yeah.
And as long as I've been doing it, I've steadily been active for 5 years in it. Like I said, I ran into a old Sunday school classmate. Now, well, it would have been around Christmas, and I had totally forgot I did this. But I had a buddy when we were in Sunday school, and we would skip Sunday school and go run around the church ghost hunting inside the church.
Nice.
And she reminded me of it and stuff. But anyway, I'd never seen a shadow person, a full-bodied apparition, even a partial apparition or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And, I think it would be a big bonus if I did get to see one, whatever. But it's interesting because I've had plenty of instances of physical interaction that I'm still trying to find an explanation for. Mm-hmm. But I've run into a number of, actually, I think it's every location I've been to, I have had an experience with an olfactory ghost. And for whatever reason, I just pick up on it. And Farrar was a really weird one because we're in that front stairwell going out to the front doors. And Will and Jacqueline were hanging with us that night. And Will said he had never run into this phenomenon before. But we're going up and down that stairway, I don't know how many times, just roaming around. And we were coming back down that stairway, and all of a sudden, I'm like, I caught a big whiff of nasty, old piss. And, it was just like this stale, nasty smell. And I called the guys down, and I was like, do you smell this? And of course, Will's a joker, and he was like, man, you got to go change your doors or something. I was like, well, we left. We went down to the gym. We came back up completely like it was never even there.
Yeah.
And we went up to the auditorium, and we were coming back down. Sure as could be, there it was again. Oh, and it came and went several times throughout the night. And yeah, Will was kind of like, he he goes, that is really trippy that he goes, I've never run into that phenomenon in this schoolhouse where just that strong of an olfactory ghost would be, you know.
That's crazy.
So many times we've been there, I've never smelled anything like that.
No, at Farrar?
No.
No. I mean, I have at Malvern in one specific room. But
oh, yeah, I know the room you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
Never at Farrar.
Yeah, I've never smelled that at Farrar. We smelled pickles that one time.
Up in the principal's office, we smelled like a jar of dill pickles.
Yeah.
We don't know where it come from or what.
It was there and then gone. So.
Yeah, it's trippy.
Yeah, it is. We have another question from Darren. He wants to know what your favorite device is.
Again, I do not have a favorite. We don't use a lot of equipment. I would have to say a camera. I take a lot of pictures and videos. But the equipment that we use it in a different way. And so, you know, when people are walking through with a K2, typically they're looking for that spike to red, you know, as a good indicator that they're picking up on that EMF. And when you really study up on and read up on the EMF, electromagnetic energy is like our most common energy in our world, you know.
Right.
You can get pulses from natural light. You can get pulses from yourself. You know, you top of your head, your extremities put out pulses, and so we rely on the REM pod, the K2 and stuff. We don't look at how it's supposed to function. We rely on the malfunctioning of it to give us indications of what's there. When we first get to a location, we do control tests to find out where all the electrical wires, the gas pipes, the water pipes and stuff are. And then we end up really like I said, relying on the actual the malfunctioning of the equipment to give us indication of a presence or an energy. But I would say my very favorite piece of equipment is the camera. So.
Very nice. I need to get a good camera to do. I'd like to try one of, you know, like the old Polaroid ones.
Polaroid ones. Just to see what kind of pictures we could come up with.
Yeah. I think that'd be kind of interesting.
I do have an old Polaroid camera. Just finding all the stuff for
it. Yeah, that's true.
When you were at, I think it was Villisca, what is the strobe light test that you guys did?
It's our theory on that. I want to test it some more, but our theory on that is kind of like when you use the laser grid. The laser grid is just a manipulation of light to capture an energy that would otherwise not be seen with the naked eye. And so if you set up a camcorder or a stop motion camera while the strobe light is going, the theory is that if you're manipulating the light in the room, you could possibly pick up on something and get a picture of an energy that otherwise wouldn't be picked up with the naked eye.
Oh, okay.
And it's just something we're, you know, testing out. We haven't captured nothing with it. But hopefully it would be kind of interesting if we did get something.
Well, that's where most of our equipment's come from. People testing stuff out, and then all of a sudden we're using it. So
yeah. We have a couple questions from Sarah and Shay. They both want to know about if you can kind of elaborate on what you mean by depending on the malfunctioning of the equipment.
As far as like the malfunctioning of the equipment, like as far as the K2 goes, typically that will light up green to red when picking up a pulse of electromagnetic energy. And I personally don't like to hold the K2 and just walk around with it. I'll set it down like it is a REM pod.
Yeah.
And if it's not light, I set it down where it won't light up, and then I just keep an eye on it. I have a small little video camera that I will train on it and watch the video later. But there's times where I've seen the yellow light up alone, and it goes both ways. I've seen where it goes red to green. So it's that kind of malfunctioning where typically it won't do that. And that, is where you pick that up, is like, I would be more apt to believe that there was an energy putting out a pulse to do that than to make it work proper where it'd be picking up something from your microwave oven.
Right.
Same thing with the REM pod. The REM pod was invented by the same company it was supposed to be a musical instrument. The original Star Trek series with Captain Kirk and Spock, in the intro, that spot where it sounds like a woman warbling in the intro music, that's the theremin. And it's an odd little instrument. But the REM pod was invented by the same company that was doing that, and it was they didn't like the instrument. They basically just trashed it, and somebody picked it up and made it into what could be used to pick up EMF pulses. So, it's you got to eliminate what might happen with certain things. If you're walking across a shaky floor, it can make the REM pod go off. But if you have it setting solid on something and it's going crazy or whatever, and you've eliminated all possible, triggers, that's what I mean by that. Like, we're not one of those where we just sit there and ask it a lot of questions. But if it just starts going nuts for no reason, and then you eliminate what possible triggers could have made it go off, then that's where I mean by we count on the malfunctioning of the equipment.
I like to take my equipment and go sit in a room by myself and just sit there quiet and see what happens and not even ask any questions. And a lot of times you get a lot more action that way.
Yeah. We do that as well. And part of the reason we don't use a lot of equipment, one reason is, I always say that, people who have a lot of experiences with otherworldly happenings is when they're not expecting it, when they have no equipment. They might be in their own home and all of a sudden see something, and they're not expecting it.
Yep.
But part of it is when we're in a location, we like to roam. We like to zip around from room to room. So we might spend 30 minutes in one room and move to another room for another 30 or 45 minutes, whatever. So we kind of stay on the move for roughly the whole night.
Yeah.
We stop for anywhere from like 30 minutes to an hour. And so it's just easier to do that with smaller pieces of equipment. And if you train your ears and eyes and stuff, then it's just easier. I always say that you're your best piece of equipment you can have. So
yep,
definitely.
Yeah, it is.
I was going through your page, and the Ferguson house and the
Wayuka
and Billy's. You did a couple events there.
Yeah. Those Ferguson House has rumors of hauntings. That was, now I'm brain farting on a lot of the history on that. That was back last October, and I don't know where my notes are on that, but it's a fascinating house. And when I was a kid, there's another house just right around the corner from it called the Kennard House, and they were two of the first settlers here in Lincoln. They built those great houses. They were really prosperous businessmen, families here in Lincoln. But there is rumors of paranormal activity in the Ferguson house. And I think I use the word rumors fairly loosely like that because I think that's a lot of what it is. Mm-hmm. And I did those events with a couple psychic mediums. And I think a lot of people were more interested in having readings done than doing the actual paranormal part of it, the haunted tours. The Billy's restaurant, a lot of people have said that they've experienced numerous things in Billy's restaurant. I haven't personally had a chance to just investigate Billy's. I'd like to, but the owner of the Billy's restaurant, whose name is Nodder, wonderful guy. I'm sure that if I talked to him, he'd let me investigate. But a lot of history in that place too. Wyuka Cemetery is a historical cemetery / park here in Lincoln, and a lot of famous people buried in Wyuka. And so we did a haunted, called it a haunted history tour, but there's truthfully really no activity in there. I tried to shy away from that a little bit, but people really get drawn into it. A lot of people think that a cemetery would be a hot spot for activity. My mind tends to stray the other way and say, a cemetery is a place for rest. Mm-hmm. I don't know why there would be activity in a cemetery. I would expect, an ambulance vehicle or something to be more active than a cemetery would be, or a hospital or something like that. Something where there would be more trauma. But people enjoy the history of the Wyuka, and we do it at night. And I've done Girl Scout groups at Wyuka. I've done birthday parties and Boy Scout groups at Lake Street Lake here in Lincoln. I like to do a lot of the educational stuff for the younger demographic. So,
which is cool.
Yeah, it is.
Very cool. Shay has a question in here. She wants to know what do you have on your bucket list to do?
Let's see here. You know what? One place that I definitely want to do before I die. I'd love to go to the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast.
Oh.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
That fascinates me. And I would honestly, I think, a lot of people think that she was guilty and stuff. You think about the time period. I honestly think there would be no way that she did it.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the time frame, the court records and all that stuff, she couldn't have done that brutal of a crime to two people, not made that big of a mess, and been able to disrobe, discard her clothes, however she may have done it, and then get redressed before her sister came home. I mean, think of the layers of clothes that a woman wore back in that time period.
Oh, don't.
Yeah, a lot.
And the undergarments and all that stuff, and so yeah, I would. There's just, it's a fascinating case to read about, and I think she got a very bad rap, but I honestly think that she's innocent. I always thought that Amityville would be, but I try not to talk about Amityville because when you really look at the facts, when you really break it down, Amityville probably has no activity. I know a lot of people really, really like the Warrens, and I'm trying not to talk too much about them right now because I know a lot of people are still in grieving over Lorraine's passing. Mm-hmm. But they maintained that there was demonic activity in 112 Ocean Avenue, even after Ronald DeFeo admitted in a prison interview that, you know, he didn't hear demonic voices telling him to kill his family. He said, I was on so many drugs that he was having auditory hallucinations, and he said it was probably the, you know, auditory hallucinations that drove him into that, the sheer amount of psychedelic drugs and stuff he was taking. But then when the Lutz family moved in and was only there for roughly about a month and then fled, they came out not long after that, and the priest that was involved, Jay Anson, who wrote the book, the Lutz family and everything, they all admitted that they were just trying to get their 10 minutes of fame. And then they made all that stuff up. And a couple people had called them out because they looked at police records of when they claimed they had called the police, or when they claimed there was a break-in, and they found footprints in the snow. They went back and looked at weather records, and they were saying they saw footprints in the snow when there had not been any snow for quite a while, stuff like that, and just a lot of things that just pointed to it all being fake. And admittedly, it was fake by all parties, but yet the Warrens maintained it was demonic. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that kind of wiped Amityville off my list.
Yeah. Jen B in the chat says this is her opinion. She thinks Lizzie was in on it, as well as the maid, but her uncle was the one that did it. She says it's her opinion only on the Lizzie Borden.
Well, that's actually a interesting theory. Mm-hmm. I'll have to look into that. I never really thought about that.
Oh, let's see here. Then Sarah has a question for you. She wants to know if you've been to the Museum of Shadows.
Can I opt out of talking about the Museum of Shadows? I want to keep it on a positive note.
That's fine.
She says, I'm just curious about his take on the place.
If she wants to message me on Facebook, she can get on Heartland or whatever and then private message me, and I can talk to her privately, but I don't want to openly.
Yeah, that's fine. She said fair enough. Let's see here. Okay, Sarah said that Hans Holzer had a good theory on Amityville.
Okay.
She said that she agreed more with his beliefs, that what the Lutz experience was more psychic experience than something any of the rest of us might be able to see. It's interesting to discuss the different theories, is what she was saying.
It is interesting. But my thing is, they came openly and said that they, like, after they had been called out by reporters saying that the police calls were fake, that the police station had not gotten any calls when they said that, going back and looking at the weather records and whatnot, and just numerous different things. And I have some of this stuff written down. They ended up openly saying that they cooked it up, and the lawyer, I can't remember the name of the lawyer, but he said that it was all a farce, and they sold the story to Jay Anson, so he wrote the book, which is what spurred on all the movies. And Jay Anson even came out and said, I just wrote the book from what they said, but as far as he knew, it was a farce as well. Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. I hadn't heard any of it. I guess I hadn't really dug into it, so it's interesting to hear.
One of the things that I pride myself on is like I love going to these locations, but I don't go for a thrill. If I'm going to call myself a paranormal investigator and a field researcher, it's what I'm going to do. I'm going to delve into that story, and I'm not just going to touch the first little bit of that story. I dive in head first, and I try to learn as much as I possibly can before going into any of this. Mm-hmm. If you don't do that, I don't know how you can actually call yourself really an investigator or a field researcher.
Yeah, you got to do the history before.
Yeah.
We do the history of the place before we go, but we don't like to do the walk-arounds and here where everybody's, has their experience and stuff. Right. We like to experience our own and not have that in our heads where, oh, there's something in this room, there's something in this room. And
absolutely.
But we do the history on the buildings and everything and get all that, but we don't usually go on the tours or anything.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Because you get that in your head and you go, well, there should be something going on in this room. They say it is.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Well, it's the power of suggestion.
Yep.
And I think, a lot of people, there's a number of things I think that the power of suggestion kind of has, it grips people. And I think a lot of people have wishful thinking so bad that they end up having it become like self-fulfilling prophecies. I take issues with attachments, and I'll just use Villisca as an example. There was 8 people murdered the night that the crimes happened, okay? Mm-hmm. So let's say that all 8 people's energies are still in that house. There's a theory that the murderers, their energies returned to the house after they died. So we're talking about 10 people, or 10 energies in that house. Now, when you count how many people go through that house every single day and add that up through the year, I mean, you're talking about thousands of people go through that house in a year, okay?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So here's my thing. People wouldn't continue taking home attachments after 10 attachments would go home with people, I mean, it's physics would explain that energy does not exist in 2 places simultaneously. So Villisca would cease to be an active location after 10 people had attachments and went home with these attachments. So it's simple logic, but yet you have people, probably a couple hundred people a year going, oh, I brought something home with me. Well, I think it's kind of wishful thinking, or they get thinking about it so much that, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, and they might have a string of bad luck happen, and oh, well, I went to Villisca and I must have an attachment, I tell this story often. I had talked to a guy who said that he visited a haunted location and he ended up with an attachment.
Uh-huh.
And I said, well, how do you know? And he said, well, because after I came home, within a couple months, my wife left me. And then I lost all my money at the boats. And then on the way home, he goes, I only had a couple beers, but I wrecked my truck on the way home from the boats.
Yeah.
And I said, well, okay. I said, but if you really logically think about this, I said, if you weren't being a dick, would your wife have left you?
Yeah.
And if you knew when to say when, would you still have your money instead of have gambled it all away at the boats? And if you wouldn't have driven drunk, you'd still have your truck. Well, he didn't want to talk to me anymore. You know, it just kind of breaks down like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's
true. That is very true.
I'm not saying that there is no such thing as an attachment.
Right.
I'm just saying it probably doesn't happen as often as people would lead you to believe, you know.
That's true, yeah.
And I think the power of suggestion and the wishful thinking, you know, coupled together, end up becoming like this self-fulfilling prophecy where, like, they, you know, bad luck is blamed on an attachment.
Speaking of attachments and stuff, not saying, but do you protect yourself when you go into a place?
Yes. We always sage. I always have my own prayers that I say. I was born and raised ELCA Lutheran, so I say prayers that are based with that. And then I have a medicine bag that I typically carry grounding stones in, usually like black kyanite, blue moonstone, black obsidian, stuff like that, protective grounding stones. So I do a number of different things as far as like protection.
Cool.
I always try to keep the energy of myself or my team, anybody I'm with, keep the energy high and positive. I never take anybody who has the flu or a cold or anything like that along. If they're just getting over it or whatever, they don't go with me. I wouldn't take somebody who just had a fight with their significant other and was brooding over something like that. So you have to be mentally and physically okay in terms of going into a location, because, you know, you just don't want that energy low or down. So I take those precautions as well. I wouldn't go into a location if I was ill or in mental turmoil over the argument with a family member. It's my wife or something. So I wouldn't expect one of my team members or somebody I'm going with to do the same. So
right. Oh, let's see. We have another question from Darren. He wants to know, if there was a haunted location for sale for you to buy, what would it be?
It'd have to be one here in Lincoln, but I'll tell you what. This is one of my favorite daydreams because I pass it very often with my day job. And this sucks because there's no confirmation that it's haunted. But I know that like historians and paranormal people would come to visit it just to see. Just off of Van Dorn on 24th Street here in Lincoln is the Sea Lauer Ward House. And that's where, are you guys familiar with Charlie Starkweather's story?
No.
Back in 58, 59, he and his 14-year-old girlfriend, Caroline Fugate, had gone on a murder spree and in a short time had killed, it was 10 people here in Nebraska, and his last victim was in Wyoming before they captured him. And she, when convicted, was sent to York prison for girls.
Mm-hmm.
But he ended up in an electric chair here in Lincoln in a penitentiary. And he was the last one, I believe, in the electric chair until like Willie Ote in the 90s. But Seelauer Ward was a businessman here in Lincoln, and the area that his house was like really in the upscale area of Lincoln at the time. And they went in and spent a day there and killed Clara Ward, the wife, the maid, who was a deaf lady.
Mm-hmm.
And when Seelauer Ward came home, they killed him and then stole his car and a bunch of other stuff and then took off and continued their spree.
Wow.
And so it's weird because it's a creepy story. It's a creepy thing. We heard about it from our parents, growing up, because a lot of, your people's parents and uncles and aunts and stuff knew about the family. Here in Nebraska, if your last name's Starkweather, people are like, "Ooh, shit, no, like, I gotta go, don't want to talk to you." It's got a bad stigma on it, but when you drive by that house, like, you can see it from Van Dorn Street, but if you're like to turn down 24th and drive by it, it's weird. Like, you get a chill driving by that house. So it'd be like, that would be an interesting deal to do, like what Darwin and Martha did to Villisca.
Mm-hmm. And
like, if you could buy that and decorate it like period correct, and
right.
like 1958, 59 furniture and everything, and give tours of that, that would be ideal ownership of like a location. And then I would just keep my fingers crossed that it was haunted as well.
Nice.
Okay, before we run out of time, first. Oh, you got a question?
Yep, Sarah has a question about that real quick.
Okay.
If I can get back to it here. She
yes.
wants to know if the girlfriend's family house is still standing.
It is not.
Okay.
Let's see here. The gas station is no longer there. The Fugate's house is no longer there. Starkweather's house is no longer standing. I almost want to say that I think the only one that's actually still standing is the Ward house. I'm not so sure about the farmer that was killed out in Bennett. I don't know if that is still there or not. But I know the Fugate house has been torn down, and that was in the Belmont area, and that's been developed since. And I think there's like a grocery store and a KFC and all that in that area.
Okay, before we go, I gotta ask this. Let's talk about the Investigator for a Day program that you've started.
Okay. What do you want to know?
What do you do? Just somebody gets a hold of you, or what? Or how's that work?
Yeah. You can get a hold of me over private messenger, or my email address is heartlandparanormal16@gmail.com. But the basic premise of Investigator for a Day is my first and foremost goal is to take people who are either low income or have disabilities. With my day job, I work with adults with developmental and physical disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of individuals that I work with are fascinated with what I do in the paranormal community. And so I started off with one of my clients and took him and some family members out to Malvern and Villisca, and that's how I started the program. And they had a blast, and I let them walk around with the K2 and the Mel meter, and they set up the REM pod and just did their own little thing, and they had a blast. And I've had a couple other people interested and contact me that are interested to take different things. And I said, well, bring kids for day tours, whatever. And if you want to be an investigator for a day, I got the equipment. We'll do the tour. You can do, how you want. I'm going to try to get a couple other locations involved. Right now, I just do. You're going to make me sneeze. I'm going to do. I'm doing Malvern and Villisca right now is the ones that I've got involved right now. But I'd like to get involved with like Squirrel Cage Jail. Obviously, I've talked to Will, and if I have anybody in like the Des Moines area or whatever, I'll probably do something with Ferrara. But my thing is just like, people who are interested in it and just want to experience it just for a short time, get them out there and do that and let them run some of the equipment, let them learn some of this stuff about these locations and stuff, and let them have that experience that they otherwise might not be able to have.
Yeah.
And I did a video and I said, I did this one time so far, but this is not, like, I have no copyrights on this. This is not my idea. This is not Heartland's thing. I would so be like overjoyed and my heart would be full if I saw other groups posted on their pages and stuff that other people were doing this. It would just like my heart would be overfilling if I saw a lot of people just doing this, because like this isn't my thing, and I haven't coined this. It's just something that I decided to do, and I call mine Investigator for a Day, but I'd like to see it out there more.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Me and Allison, a lot of people want to go with our group. In some places, you just can't take a lot of people. So what me and Allison says, if you guys rent a building, you want to investigate, me and Allison will bring our equipment, and we'll let you guys run it. We'll show you how to do it, and it'll be your investigation. We'll sit back and let you do the whole investigation all night. And we've had a couple of takers do it, and they've rented places and used the equipment stuff.
And that's awesome. See, I love hearing that. My thing is, like, I'm not even thinking about running it for the whole night.
Right.
Just people want to do, like, Villisca's open, for whatever, 3-4 hours. Malvern does that or whatever. Just do a couple hours at each location. That's kind of what I do here in Lincoln. Like, there's people who know that I do the small groups. I do for Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. I do birthday parties. And I build divining rods. And with the birthday parties and stuff, I tell you, I let the kids just run off with the divining rods after I kind of teach them how to use it. And I'm not saying they use them properly, but they have a ball. And at the end of the night, I've given the birthday boy or the birthday girl, hey, here, happy birthday, take these home. And you'd think they'd be shitting bricks because they were just happy as a puppy with two Peters just to get those divining rods.
I know I got a set from you. I love mine.
Oh, do you still use them?
Oh, yeah, we still use them on investigations.
Awesome.
Darren wants to know if you have a YouTube page.
No, I don't. And I'm planning on I'm probably gonna have one here in the near future. I have a few things that I'm gonna tackle. And what I'm going to do with the YouTube page, I'll just kind of give you a little hint. It's going to be a cross between Mr. Wizard and Bill Nye. I'm going to kind of do a little bit of a science / paranormal thing. And we'll leave it at that. It'll be a cross between Mr. Wizard's World and Bill Nye the Science Guy.
That's great. That's great.
Jen B wants to know if you got Instagram.
No, I did Twitter for a while, and I'm not the most technologically savvy person in the world.
Me either.
And so doing Facebook is enough to give me a headache. And so doing Facebook and Twitter, I was like, I'm done.
I enjoy it. I can use Twitter, but don't get me started on Instagram. I haven't figured that out yet.
That's why I never did the Instagram, because I was like, if I can't do Twitter and Facebook at the same time, I definitely can't do the Instagram.
I finally got on Twitter, and it's like, I'm confused.
I've been using it for a while now, so I get that, but this whole Instagram thing, I have no clue. I think it's like pictures or videos, or I don't really know. I haven't figured it out.
I suppose if I really want to know, I'll go ask my nephew and nieces. I'm sure I'll get an explanation from them.
Yep, that's right. Yep, exactly.
That Twitter, I'm still learning on it.
Well, that's not too bad. It's really not. I've gotten the hang of that.
I'm better with Facebook.
If you do the Facebook, I do the Twitter then.
Okay, we before we do our little shout out stuff, how can they find you and everything before we?
I'm on Facebook. I have a group. I've tried to do the page a couple times. Don't like it. I just stick with the group. It allows me to be more interactive. So it's Heartland Paranormal. Just that. And if you get confused, my what do they call it? The cover photo is just a bird with a rose in the beak and Latvian design throughout the middle. You can contact me through private messenger, or like I said earlier, my email address is heartlandparanormal16@gmail.com.
Cool. Okay. And Allison can give out the shout outs.
Yep, I'm going through here. Let's see. All right, so in chat tonight we had Shay, we had Andrew, Jen B, Darren. Let's see here. We had Sarah. Still scrolling here. Pretty sure Matt was in here too. Yep, and Matt tonight. So thank you everybody for listening tonight, and thank you for all the great questions. I love it when you guys are very interactive in the chat. And we'd like to thank Jason from Heartland Paranormal for being on the show tonight. So thank you very much for being a guest, and you gave us a lot of information, and I thought it was very awesome tonight.
Yes, it was.
Thank you guys for the opportunity.
Oh yeah, absolutely, anytime. Then one more little thing that we have here is just the Stomp Out Paranormal Bully. If you are a loved one or a victim of bullying, no matter your age or circumstance, you can call the number below or go to the website for help. It's 877-NO-BULLY or www.stompoutbullying.org. So give them a like or go check them out if you're having any issues. And thank you again, everybody, for joining us tonight. Excuse me. I got a tickle in my throat. Excuse me. So we will be on next week. Next week we're going to have John from Moth, so tune in then.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you for listening to REP Paranormal and Friends. Be sure to check out Kim and Allison on Facebook at REP Paranormal Busters.